What's up, Met fans? Welcome back to Talking Mets here, Rob. How is everybody doing on this Monday, 5 p.m. MLB Free Agent Frenzy Day 5? Obviously, nothing has really happened on the free agent market, but we do have a little bit of news that could affect the Mets over the next couple of days. That is one with the Rule 5 decisions going down where teams have to decide what players to protect on the 40-man roster, and a little bit of information about a possible third baseman that the Mets could possibly go and get. And also a lot of rumors have been swirling about the Tampa Bay Rays and what they are going to do tomorrow with the Rule 5 deadline and what players are they going to protect. They've done this many times over the years with many players, specifically pitchers. They did it with Blake Snell. They did it with James Shields. They did it with a lot of players where they traded those type of caliber of pitchers after the Rule 5 draft because they had protected players. They want to protect the young arms in their system that they didn't want to make available in the Rule 5 draft next month. So there's a lot to talk about with that, and everybody's going to have their eyes on the Tampa Bay Rays and what they're going to do. If you didn't know, the Cubs, the Mets, and the Reds have all been in communications with the Tampa Bay Rays about pitching. Now, it could be a couple of guys. One big arm in Tyler Glasnow is coming back with Tommy John surgery. Sean McClanahan, Ryan Yarbrough. There's a lot of those type of pitchers that possibly could be on the trading block very soon, and it could be as soon as after tomorrow when we find out exactly who the Tampa Bay Rays keep unprotected in their system and could be up for grabs during the Rule 5 draft next month. So there's a lot to go over. Again, this is usually all about news and updates, all the rumors that we're hearing. That's basically everything in a nutshell. We'll get into everything in detail with each and everything that we have to talk about. The Rule 5 draft, what player are the Mets might keep unprotected, and it's a guy that I think has a promising arm and could be a potential of being pretty good, but there's some problems with that pitcher that we'll go over in a little bit. And that specific third baseman I'm talking about, we'll get into that in a little bit as well. And of course, possible trades that we can look at or teams that the Mets can look into trading when it comes to starting pitching, because it's not just Jacob deGrom or bust. I think too many Met fans are laying too much on Jacob deGrom. It's not all about Jacob deGrom. Name me a team that went into the playoffs that had a guy like Jacob deGrom, or at least similar to a guy like Jacob deGrom, that was so dominant that nobody can touch him, and it was a big part of why they went deep into the playoffs, right? Wheeler was good but wasn't great. Nola wasn't good, was good but not great, right? Valdez was pretty good but not great. Verlander was good but not great. You can go on and on and on with all the players, all the pitchers that were okay. And the two teams in a World Series, you've seen them as they had a good rotation, but not great. So I think we have to get away from the great rotation that we all thought we were going to have in 2022, right? We had all the depth in the world, right? We had nobody wants to face the Mets in a short series with Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer. And even if you had to go into the fourth or fifth game of the series, and you could still pitch Walker and Carrasco and Bassett, and that turned out to be a complete disaster. And granted, if you turn it back and you want Jacob deGrom and Bassett back next year, it could all be a different story. But I think we focus too much on the starting pitching and lacked in the department where we should have done better with the lineup. And I think that's where the Mets are not going to make that same mistake. I can assure you, if the Mets sign Carlos Rodon, Tyler Anderson, and maybe sign another veteran arm, that's not a bad rotation. I don't care what anybody says. Last time I checked, as soon as Jacob DeGrom came back in this rotation, the Mets got bad. They got worse. So it kind of pisses me off because too many people think that it's Jacob DeGrom or bust, right? If Jacob DeGrom wants to go to the Texas Rangers, let him go. Let him lose in Texas, right? Because Texas not only has to get past the Houston Astros, but there's other teams in that division like the Seattle Mariners that are going to be better than this year. And the Rangers can get Jacob DeGrom all they want, but they still need more pitching. And that's the bigger problem that we're going to talk about with Jacob DeGrom. Again, if you got Scherzer, Rodon, Tyler Anderson, Carlos Carrasco, and if you want to use David Peterson or Tyler McGill as your number 5 starter and use one of them in the bullpen as like a long man in your bullpen, you have those options. That's not a bad rotation. If you go into that to next year with that type of rotation, that's not bad. Rodon can pitch extremely well, and even on his bad days, he's still a good pitcher. And then you look at Tyler Anderson, and you look at Carlos Carrasco, which he wasn't great, but for $14 million, that's a bargain because the average pitcher now is going between $18 and $20 million. So you got a bargain with Carlos Carrasco, who is good, but not great. And then if David Peterson or Tyler McGill is your 5th starter, you can't complain about that either. So I did see a couple of people, Drew, I see a Mariners fan here, get this offseason. I said a couple of, with the Mariners, I still think they need another bat. And it comes down to, give me 1 second. I'm going to look at my notes right here for a second. Give me 1 second. I just want to check something out here. Let's see. I just wanted to check what I was going to do. Give me 1 second, guys. I just want to check something. I want to get something right before I say anything stupid about the Mariners here. So give me a second. All right. Just give me 1 second, guys. All right. So if you haven't checked out my top 20 free agent predictions, Drew, if you haven't checked that out yet, I said what the Mariners should do. I think you need a little bit more a good offensive bat in that lineup. And, you possibly might lose Mitch Haniger. I was thinking that the Mariners can go after Josh Bell. Again, he's not great in the field, but I think that type of bat, he figured out a way. He got better average-wise. He was a 300 hitter. Lowered his home run total just to hit higher for average, but he's a guy that can hit 30 home runs with no issue. But if you get a guy that bats 285 to 290, knock in 20 home runs, I think that can help you out in the lineup. He's like he can give you the same amount of numbers that Mitch Haniger can, but can still, I think, provide more power than Mitch Haniger. And I think that's something that the Mariners could use. I think their rotation, again, every rotation can use another pitcher. So it does depend on what type of pitchers you're still looking for to solidify the rest of that rotation. You got Luis Castillo. You can always look at a guy like Tyler Anderson for the Mariners. Well, even though I think the Mets are going to go after Tyler Anderson, but I still think you need a little bit more in that lineup, and I think Josh Bell is a good way to help that lineup out a little bit more with the Mariners. Philly Sports, what's up, buddy? How you doing? Transistor, how you doing? MB, I saw your super chat. Just give me 1 second here, buddy. All right, so MB says, what is your opinion on Tyler Glasnow? Mets are in talks with the Red Sox. Yeah, so with the intro, I talked about the possibility of, depending on what the Rays do tomorrow for the Rule 5 deadline and who they protect and don't protect on their 40-man roster, could be very telling if they're going to trade a guy like Tyler Glasnow. They did it with Blake Snell. They did it with James Shields when it came to the Rule 5 draft, right? Not with specifically those players, but who they protected and didn't protect in their AAA system. And it's like a revolving door. Every couple of years, the Rays do this, right? They don't wait until Tyler Glasnow has only 1 year left on his contract. There's guys like Yarbrough, who is a guy that can come in as an opener, go in the bullpen. There's guys like McClanahan, who is a really good lefty that could start, but could be a really good piece late in the game, 7th to 8th inning as a lefty arm, and has pitched really well under a 3 ERA for a couple of years in a row now, and he's got a couple of years of control. There's a lot of pitchers and arms that the Mets can look at with the Rays, depending on what they do in the Rule 5 deadline tomorrow, to see who they protect or don't protect in their system. So Tyler Glasnow, I think, is an option, no doubt. The Mets are already talking to them. I still think that's kind of a long shot with Glasnow, but it is a possibility. But it depends on what the Mets look. Billy Epler didn't want to give any of his top 25 free agents last year at the deadline to make his team better. So what would take him to give up a couple of those top 25s for Glasnow? Would he do that? I don't know. And, I saw you said about Mets are in talk to the Red Sox. I was talking about that third baseman, Rafael Devers. The Red Sox are having a rough time of trying to come up with an extension for Rafael Devers. It doesn't seem like it's going well, and everybody's speculating that the Red Sox might be trading Rafael Devers. I don't care who you have to give up to get Rafael Devers. He's 26 years old. He's one of the best players in baseball. You trade for him, you're clearly going to extend him. He's looking for about a $300 million contract. That's the type of guy I'll give 10 years, $300 million to, or probably 10 years, $350 to. Something that's like $35, $36 million, because in the last year of his contract could be 36 years old, and you'll probably get about 6 to 8 years of great prime years of Rafael Devers. So that's something, obviously you would have to give up Brett Beatty. Would you give up Kevin Parada? Would you give up 2 or 3 of your top 10, maybe 4 of your top 10? Would you do that for Rafael Devers? I would, because you put him at third base. Now you got somebody to protect Pete Alonso. That is a oh my God concept, because that doesn't happen very often. And you see how bad it was not protecting Pete Alonso the entire year, because after Lindor and Alonso, it was very hard to find somebody behind Pete Alonso to protect him. Rafael Devers would do that in a heartbeat. Lindor, Alonso, Devers looks very dangerous, and that's something that the Mets can think of. Maybe they will do something like that. Listen, I don't think the Mets can go after Glasnow and go after Devers and have a farm system left. I mean, possibly, who knows? But that's something that you have to look at. If the Mets really don't think that they can sign DeGrom, that's a lot of money that they're not going to spend on one pitcher that I'd rather give to a young 26-year-old Rafael Devers if they want to go that route. And then you know what? You use that extra money to sign Rodon, to sign Tyler Anderson. And, now you got 4 guys in your rotation, and then McGill and Peterson can fight it out for the 5th position. So I think that's a interesting way to look at it as well. Yeah, it might be a possibility of snow in New York this week, so who knows? Well, Transistor, that's the thing when it comes to Jacob deGrom. I think the Rangers are desperate enough to give him a 5th year. I don't blame the Mets for not doing that. And I don't think it's not about the money at all. It's just that, do you want to give 5 guaranteed years to Jacob deGrom, and there's no guarantee this guy's going to stay healthy? And again, I don't think he wants to be here. And I don't want the player to just come here because the Mets gave him the most money in the most years. Because if a guy's not motivated to be here and doesn't want to be here, then why do I want you here? I don't want you wearing orange and blue. Go somewhere else. Yes, because Rodon showed over the last 2 years that he's been more healthy than Brandon Nimmo. And again, Rodon pitches every 5th day. Brandon Nimmo needs to play every day, and he hasn't done that throughout his entire career, except for last year. That finally he. But again, look. The nagging injuries when it comes to Nimmo is why he missed so many games over the last couple of years. The nagging injuries were non-existent this year. Why? Because it doesn't look good in the contract year that he's hurt with nagging injuries, and all of a sudden we didn't hear about them. So, and I think Rodon every fifth day you have to worry less than you have to worry about Jacob DeGrom because Jacob DeGrom's shown every little thing bothers him. Everything. Oh, I feel a little discomfort here, or a little bit of a little pain here. I'm not gonna pitch. Like I can't go through that every time. Rodon is a bulldog. When he had nagging injuries last year, but he pitched through them and he pitched fine. And I want somebody who's gonna go out there. Not every nagging injury he's gonna sit down and not pitch. You can't have that every fifth day and worry about if Jacob DeGrom is going to be on the mound. I don't trust that, especially for the type of money that he's commanding. David, what do the Phillies need? Well, again, I clearly think you guys are going to go after a shortstop. I know Philly fans are just assuming that they're going to get Trey Turner because, the whole Bryce Harper connection. Obviously, that makes sense. But I said last year, I didn't understand why the Phillies didn't go after Carlos Correa last year. I think Carlos Correa fits you guys perfectly. I think that's a Schwarber, Harper, Correa middle of the lineup that is freaking scary. Trey Turner obviously would be good leadoff hitter for you guys as well. I think the Mets are not going to let Trey Turner get away from them. And that's why I think the Phillies are going to pivot to Correa. But I wouldn't be surprised if they look at Xander Bogaerts as well, who is a little bit older than Correa. Correa is 28. Bogaerts is 30. That's a situation where I think they're going to get one of the shortstops, put it that way. I don't think you can go wrong with either of those shortstops for the Mets or the Phillies, but I think the Mets see Turner as a legit guy that they can put in center field. They can put at second base. You want to give Lindor a day off, you put him at shortstop. They can do so many things with Trey Turner, and I think that's why the Mets like him a lot. And again, I think Correa fits perfectly for a team like Philly, in my opinion. Drew, I don't understand why those rumors came up about trading Acuna. Like, you just gave him that big extension, 2 years ago? I don't understand that. I don't know why that rumor came about. I don't know where it came from. I don't know if it came from Acuna's agents throwing it out there, or I don't see why the Braves would do that. Unless they know something about his knee that nobody else knows, and they're trying to get the most they can, even though you're going to be selling low on Acuna with one of his worst years of his career. I don't know why they would do that. You won't get much for him because you got to take on that contract. So I don't understand why the Braves would do that, and I don't know why that rumor popped up. If the Braves are really serious about trading Acuna, you really have to think: are they just trying to get away from that contract, even though it's a team-friendly deal? Are they trying to rid themselves of that contract because they want to sign Swanson? Can they sign Swanson without worrying about trading Acuna? Because I'll tell you right now, if the Braves don't sign Swanson, I think that's a huge mistake. And if Acuna's contract and all the contracts they gave over this year is causing them not being able to pony up for Swanson because they tried to sign Swanson in the season and he wasn't trying to take a team-friendly deal. So if Swanson leaves, I know you got Vaughn that can slide over to shortstop, fine, but he's not Swanson. And I think that's going to be a huge loss if you don't get Swanson. Sean, what's up, buddy? I like Random Turner and Bassett to start. I mean, yeah. Again, I'm not a I can't kill the Mets if they go back and sign Bassett again. Um, those two starts in Atlanta and the Padres in the playoffs scared me a lot about a guy that looked like he couldn't perform in a big spot when it was needed. I don't know. All right, let's see. Grant is in Mexico. Oh, is his honeymoon? Tulum, Mexico. I bet it's a lot warmer than New York. Grant, you have a good time, buddy. Well, transistor, the day they traded away Mauricio, it's about damn time when they do that. Nimmo straight up for Devers. I do that, if the Mets still actually had Nimmo. And B, it's quiet right now. You got to remember the qualifying offers all haven't been declined yet. There's a couple of players that still haven't declined the qualifying offer yet. So until you hear that, all those, when the qualifying offers are officially all declined or accepted and the qualifying period is over, that's when you'll probably start hearing trades. I wouldn't be surprised by the end of next week or the end of this week when it gets closer to Thanksgiving. You might hear a lot more rumors and a lot more things going on. And you're gonna again pay attention to what happens tomorrow, not only with the New York Mets but with the Rays as well. That's why the Mets are talking to the Rays because the Rays have decisions to make for that Rule 5 deadline tomorrow. And that is key because once that Rule 5 unprotected and protected players happen and the deadline's over, now everybody knows what players they're going to have protected, and now they can use them in trades. They can go on about their roster, and now they know other teams that could possibly trade guys like, again, Glasnow, Yarbrough, McClanahan, those type of pitchers for the Rays. That could be a big decision for the Rays to trade a guy like Glasnow who's coming off of Tommy John surgery, who he came back last year at the end of the year. I think he pitched in 1 or 2 games. So he's a possibility. And if he's healthy, now again, he was one of the big people when it came to Spider Tech that came out openly and said that once Major League Baseball banned it, it changed his grip, the way he gripped the ball, and he believes that's why he tore his UCL, and that's why he had to have Tommy John surgery. So again, he's probably still a really good pitcher without it, but he said he had to change his grip, how he gripped the ball, because Spider Tech made him grip the ball a lot easier. So can he be a guy that could pitch without Spider Tech and remain healthy? Right, the healthy part is probably more than the stuff that he pitches with. As good as he is, if he can remain healthy without it and with the different grip of the ball, maybe it's a possibility. So listen, watch out for tomorrow with the Rule 5 deadline and with teams have to protect certain players on their roster or in their AAA team, and also the Rays, the Mets, and a couple of other teams that usually looked at the that Rule 5 draft in December, possibly picking up some key players that you might not think would be unprotected for another team. I think Alonso has 3 years or 2 years after this year. I wouldn't be surprised at the end of this year, because the Mets have a lot of free. I know a lot of people talked about the Mets going with trying to extend Pete Alonso this year. It's hard to do it this year. I think the Mets would have loved to do it this year, but because they got so many free agents and the roster turnover can be dramatic, and there's a lot of people to sign, re-sign, or get new players to sign, you don't really know what the payroll is going to look like. At least next year, there's a lot less free agents on your team. So you have the opportunity to focus on Pete Alonso and that extension along with Jeff McNeil. So I would think about at the end of next year, you would see Pete Alonso's extension. Isaiah, that's a good point. The Giants need pitching as well. So that's an interesting thing too. They got a pretty good farm system, so that's an idea as well. Again, it's not just the Mets. It's just a matter of the Mets, Cubs, and Reds were rumored to be talking to the Rays already about their pitching on their roster. So those are the three teams that come up. Again, I don't think the Giants are doing anything. I don't think they're signing anybody. I don't think they're trading for anybody until they know if they can sign Aaron Judge or not. Because I think everything is going to revolve around if they sign Aaron Judge, they're probably going to do a little less in the free agent market and maybe go after trades. But they can't wait too long because Glasnow or a couple of pitches on the Rays could be gone over the next possibly by the end of the week. Because I'll read the tweet that let me see, hold on. I'll read it to you guys right now. Give me a second. All right, so here we go. John Morosi. Mets, Cubs, and Reds have been in touch with the Rays about their available pitching. The Angels have shown interest too, as previously reported. Okay, Rays are engaged in advanced trade talks ahead of Tuesday's roster protection deadline. At this point, industry observers expect multiple trades by the club over the next 48 hours. That was yesterday from John Morosi. Okay, so expect multiple trades by the club over the next 48 hours. So, like I said, after that Rule 5, that deadline period tomorrow, the Rays are going to have players protected or not protected, and then they'll have a decision to make based on the pitches they have on their current roster. So that's something we're going to have to look at for sure for all teams that are looking for pitching or looking for trades. But reported Mets, Cubs, and Reds are in talks. So the Rays are already in advanced trade negotiations. So who knows what those teams are? But the teams that we know is the Mets, Cubs, and the Reds, and everybody all right away thought about Glasnow. I actually thought about McClanahan even before Glasnow because McClanahan is actually healthy and didn't have Tommy John surgery and can be a guy that can actually start in a rotation, but is probably better off being your seventh or eighth guy. And he's a really good lefty. For the last couple of years, he had under a 3 ERA in the American League. And, this year the American League was garbage, but over the last couple of years, they were a little bit better. And look, pitching to the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Blue Jays, that's not easy to go by playing them 19 times a year, those type of lineups. So he pitched really well. And McClanahan is if the Mets can't get Glasnow, I'll try to get McClanahan because that's the type of guy that you would want in your bullpen. So that's the thing right there what Morosi said. Observers expect multiple trades by the club over the next 48 hours. That's why it's going to be really important to see what the Rays do tomorrow at that deadline because tomorrow and Wednesday are probably going to be a lot of rumors and a lot of news regarding what type of trade offers or proposals are going to be going back and forth with the Rays. We know the Mets, Reds, and Cubs are in discussions with the Rays. So that's what we know at the moment. Yeah, like I said, I know people. There was a couple of people in the comments like, "Oh, how can you not put Nimmo going to the Mets? How can you not put the Mets getting DeGrom?" Well, I try to take my Mets bias out of that prediction because I try to be as realistic as possible, even though it sucks to say DeGrom might go to the Rangers or Nimmo might go to the Rockies. That pains me because those are guys that I seen come up early on and pitch and play. And, got homegrown players are always loved by the fans. It's not easy to say that, but I also have to be realistic to the fact that I don't think the Mets are going to go past 4 years. I don't think the Mets are going to give Nimmo over $100 million. There's a desperate team like the Rangers who need pitching who probably don't care about the fifth year at all and might guarantee it to the ground. The Rockies, who are desperate for outfield help and need all the help they can get in the lineup, Nimmo it's basically his hometown when his family always travels to Colorado to see him play from Wyoming. So, those are two things that seem obvious. Again, that can change and the Mets could get both of them. But I want to be as realistic as possible. And I think a couple of guys that I said the Mets will sign in those predictions, I think are a better chance of happening than Nimmo and Jacob deGrom. But again, if you haven't checked out the top 20 free agent predictions that I posted today, check it out. I think some might be a little shocked about some predictions I made, and some will probably be like, okay, that makes sense. That's why I put up the poll. How many predictions do you think I get right? And most people said 0 to 5, which I tend to agree with, by the way, because, I mean, if I get more than 5, I'm going to consider myself a genius because it's almost impossible to predict all of those. So we'll see what happens. Drew, I don't know about that because I think he's too athletic not to be able to play center field. And again, it's not like you're throwing him in the middle of the season, right? He's going to get all spring training. If the Mets sign Trey Turner and the Mets say, hey, Trey, let's try you out in center field. You have the whole spring training to make him work out in center field. And it's not like, again, the Mets traded for him middle of the season and say, hey, Trey, go to center field, have fun. It's totally different when you put him in center field in spring training, let him catch the fly balls, let him work on his angles, going back on balls, going gap to gap on balls, coming in on balls. We already know he's got a good arm, so that shouldn't be an issue. And his instincts are going to kick in when it comes to defensive abilities. And on top of that, if it doesn't work out in spring training for a couple of weeks in center field, you could always move him to second base and throw McNeil to left field, and you have your outfield. And that's why Michael Conforto could be a big addition to the Mets if they get Trey Turner, because now there's really no reason to go after Brandon Nimmo because you can throw Marte to center, you could throw Conforto to the right, and you have Jeff McNeil on left while you have Trey Turner at second base. So I think that's the way you have to look at it as well. Jose, I agree with you, but my thing is, and I keep on saying this is not a new rumor that the Mets were always internally talking about Trey Turner last year during the season. This wasn't new news. Like, they have been looking and talking about Trey Turner internally for many, many months now. And I do not think Steve Cohen is going to allow Trey Turner to go to the Phillies. Because I think if Steve Cohen wants a player, he's not going to let any other team get him. The same way he didn't let the Dodgers get Scherzer, he ain't going to let Trey Turner go to the Phillies. Unless Turner takes less money to go to the Phillies, the Mets are not going to get outbid for Trey Turner. And that's why I think Correa is more possible. Because I think you can give more years and more money to Correa because he's a couple of years younger. And again, the Phillies played extremely well in the playoffs. But you know what? In the World Series, striking out 51 times in the last 3 games of the series that cost you the World Series, don't you need a guy that can step up in big spots in that series? Correa would have done that. Correa has been absolutely amazing in the playoffs in his career when he was with Houston. And I don't see any reason why he wouldn't continue that. And he's in the prime of his career, and he's the youngest. He's 28 years old, and you can give that guy a 7-8 year deal, and I don't think you're gonna have any problems putting him at short for all those years. And I think too many people, including the Mets, again, I wouldn't mind Correa with the Mets, but I don't think that's realistic because I think Correa has to play shortstop. And clearly, the Phillies have a hole at shortstop. You can move Stott to second base, and you'll be fine. Correa doesn't fit. I can't throw Correa in center field. I can't throw Correa at second base. I project Correa can be at third base at some point, but is projected still to be a shortstop. That's why it doesn't make sense for the Mets, and it makes a lot more sense for the Phillies. Well, again, again, I don't mind keeping Brandon Nimmo, but the fact of the matter is, if you're going to give $135 million to Nimmo, who played 151 games this year and never did that the rest of his career for the last 5 years of his career, 6 years of his career, that scares me. Because, listen, I would not be shocked if Nimmo plays 100 games next year. Because that's the type of player he is. This guy never stays healthy. I mean, all of a sudden, we talked about Aaron Judge all of a sudden being healthy in a contract year. If you talk about Aaron Judge finally being healthy in a contract year, you have to say the same thing for Nimmo. And I think people continue to just have those rose-colored glasses on for Brandon Nimmo. Ken, you even sent me. We emailed each other back and forth, and I told you look at the stats, and you showed me this. You text me, you emailed me the stats about Brandon Nimmo. Was it much better a couple of months of the year than September, right? So we had multiple months of bad months, and everybody just wants Brandon Nimmo back. Oh, by the way, bad arm, has to play deep. How many assists does he has as a center fielder? Not many, because he can't throw anybody out that goes first to third or second to home because he's playing so damn deep. He can't throw out any of the runners. That's a big deal. It's not about his offense, even though that was a no-show when you really needed Brandon Nimmo. And then he brought up game 2 of the Padres series in the wild card series, and everybody hit in game 2 for the Mets. But guess what? He was just as bad as everybody else in game 1 and game 3. Yet in the month of September, when we needed him to be a really good leadoff hitter, when Marte was out, he was a no-show. That's why I don't trust Nimmo. It comes with injuries. He's not that good of a center fielder. People keep on saying he is, but God forbid he throws somebody out at third base or second base or home and never can get. How many blue pits do you need to see that fall in because you play so damn deep? I don't trust Nimmo to stay healthy. That's my biggest concern. Yeah, I heard about that, YT. Again, I don't know. I'm not gonna sit here and say I know about those guys. I know there's two arms that are out there in Japan that the Mets are scouting. Again, they will know a hell of a lot more than I will, or probably most of us know. I don't know. If they're good, they're good. But again, I don't know how some players will translate. I don't know. Suzuki was supposed to be this power bat coming over from Japan, and what did he hit? 16 home runs this year for the Cubs. So you just never know how you project them in the major leagues. Well, Drew, if Acuna was mad that everybody else is getting more money, that's his own fault for signing it. I never understood that. It's the same thing that goes for Jacob deGrom. Jacob deGrom did not have to sign that team-friendly deal with the Mets. How can he get mad at the Mets when he put pen to paper? This goes for all these players. If you're so mad, you know that contracts are going to get higher and higher every single year. It's just a known fact. You can't be that naive or that stupid to sign a contract knowing that more people are going to get more money, even on your own team, because contracts get higher, offers get higher, salary gets higher. So I don't understand why he would get mad about that. That's his own problem. And you know what? If he's mad about that, that's his own fault. I just don't know what to tell you on that. Like I said, I don't feel bad for any of these guys. DeGrom put pen to paper. Acuna put pen to paper. 2 years from when you sign that contract, more people are going to get more money because that's the way it goes when it comes to salaries in all sports. It increases year by year. So if you don't know that, then you should have found a new agent because your agent sucks. Okay? I don't understand that. Like Jacob deGrom, believes he's the best pitcher in baseball, even though he couldn't stay healthy for 2 years, and thinks he should get more than Max Scherzer. I think that's stupidity. Even though, as a Mets fan with Steve Cohen, I don't care about the money. You want to sign? If Steve Cohen thinks, okay, I'll guarantee you 5 years, $47 million a year, I'm not going to cry about it because that's not going to prevent Steve Cohen from doing something else. But to have these players act like they deserve more because other players are getting more, you don't. You sign the contract, deal with it. DeGrom had to opt out. Lucky he did, because the Mets would have still had a team-friendly deal with Jacob DeGrom going forward. And he would have been bitching and moaning and crying about his contract, and that's his own fault. I never feel bad for a player that put pen to paper and then they get mad that more people are making more money. Boo-hoo, cry me a river. I'm sorry. I think you can live off $33 million a year. That's the way I see it. Yeah, Drew, I seen a lot about the Blue Jays, and Orioles make sense as well. Again, I don't know how much the Braves are going to get back. See, I think it's stupid for the Braves to trade Acuna, not because they won't get, that they probably won't get a lot back, because you are selling less because he didn't have a good year. Who knows about his knee? And he has the contract. Again, it's a team-friendly contract, but for the Braves, who payroll is like middle of the pack, I think they're thinking about trading Acuna, because I don't think they can afford another big time contract to give Dansby Swanson. And I think they'd rather have Swanson. They think Swanson is more valuable to their team than Ronald Acuna. And why not get something back for Acuna if they can, and still get Swanson back in the process? I think that's more reading the tea leaves in that situation with the Braves. I don't think they can afford Swanson with the contracts they already gave this year and the contract they already gave Acuna as well. So I think that's probably a big reason why they might trade Acuna, is because I think they have to shed a little bit of payroll so they can get the guy they really want back in Swanson. Andrew Haney, Robert, like, that's a depth piece. That could be, a 6 or 7 arm, for depth, just in case. I don't think that. Yeah, but Robert, I don't know. Like I said, would it be a bad signing? No. Depth is always important for any team, because it always seems like teams always have pitching injuries, and you're always going to need your 6th, 7th, or 8th starter. So Andrew Haney, again, I'm not going to throw him in the rotation and feel comfortable about it. But if somebody gets hurt and you need that depth piece to come in, then I wouldn't mind Andrew Haney. He had a good year last year with the Dodgers. Andrew, there's no way the Braves are going to trade. He has a no trade clause. Listen, these are Brave fans telling me this, Andrew. This is not me telling you this. So, again, whatever the Brave fans are hearing, it's coming from somebody. And if Acuna is pissed off that he's not getting paid more than other people, then that's going to become a problem. And if Acuna wants to leave, he'll relieve of his no trade clause and let him trade him. I don't know. Yeah, Transistor, I talked about that earlier. That's why when people talked about Glass now right away with the Rays possibly trading pitchers, I said McClanahan right away. I like that move for the Mets tremendously. That would be good. Alonso's agent, I have no idea. I think it's CAA, if I'm not mistaken. Steven, we think McCann will get traded? I don't know. Even if they do, the Mets probably won't get anything. Maybe a 4 ERA type of reliever that the Mets are going to take a flyer on. I don't know. No, Stoney, I think McNeil's contract is up next year. David, I could see the Phillies go after Tyler Anderson. I think that would be a good. I don't think they're going to be after Carlos Rodon, because I think they trust Nola and Wheeler as their 1-2. I can see Tyler Anderson. I can see them try to get in the trade market with Glass now as an option as well. See, right, it's a weird market right now. Again, until you see things moving, like it's really hard to explain. But I can see a Tyler Anderson. That would be a perfect number 4 after Suarez as well. So I think that would be a good addition for you as well. But I don't think you're going to be going after Rodon. Rocky, no, that's the problem with the Mets. That's why they have to sign starting pitching or trade for starting pitching because they got one guy in their top 10, and that's Calvin Ziegler. And he's nowhere to be projected to be up even maybe next year, but most likely 2024. So the Mets traded their big arms over the last couple of years. So, they just traded JT Ginn for Chris Bassett last year. That was the closest arm that could have projected to be up next in 2023. And they traded them for Chris Bassett for, it looks like, 1 year of Chris Bassett. Because when that trade was first made, everybody was like, "Oh, the Mets will re-sign Chris Bassett, no problem." But now it's iffy. So you gave up a top 6 prospect, a top 5 prospect for 1 year of Chris Bassett. So, well, Ken, it's the Marlins. Steve, I think they will. That's the thing. The owner said it. So, it's not a mystery. He said money's not an object. So they're going to do whatever they want to do. And I don't think they're just going to sign Judge and pray everything works out. You're not going to sign Judge for a massive contract and not put anybody around him and make the team better. Transition, yeah, I saw somebody put that as a trade proposal, but Patino and Pache, those are 2 really good arms. I mean, electric arms, but it does depend on what you have to give up as well. So that goes with everybody. Glass now, McClanahan, Yarbrough, those type of guys. Well, Nimmo's better than Babe Ruth as well, but I'm sorry. If I have to choose between Trey Turner and Brandon Nimmo, it's a very easy answer. I'm telling you, Ken, the Rockies and all the Mariners are going to give him around $125 million. I'm telling you, he's getting more than $100 million. If Nimmo goes to the Rockies or Mariners and it's for like $90 million, then I would be pissed why the Mets didn't re-sign Nimmo. But I'm telling you, he's a Boris client now. He's the best free center fielder on the market, and there's not a lot of free agent outfielders out there besides Aaron Judge. So Nimmo is going to get over $100 million. I'm telling you, he's going to get between 120 and 140. I'm telling you, watch. Guaranteed. He wasn't good in September. He was bad in September. We were killing Brandon Nimmo. How many times on the live streams we were going, Nimmo's not going to swing at the first pitch. Nimmo's going to strike out here. Nimmo had better months. And again, it was glaring that Nimmo didn't have his best month because Marte wasn't around to pick his ass up. Well, Transistor, because he got hurt. That's why nobody was picking him up. He got healthy at almost the middle of the year to end it, like around August. And remember, the Astros I think they offered Conforto a 2-year deal, and Conforto didn't take it for whatever reason. So we'll see what happens with Conforto. Committee, I agree. But again, he put pen to paper. He didn't have to sign that deal. Listen, when you're a player that's still going, making $550,000 a year at the time, and somebody throws you, $100 million for 8 years, and let's see, that's $12.5 million a year. It's not chump change, but again, he put pen to paper. He was looking at security, because think of it this way. Last year, he tore his knee up. If he never signed that contract, he would have what? 2 more years left of team control? and he had a decent year this year, but not the Acuna type of year, he would be going into this year 1 year away from free agency, not knowing if he's going to get a huge contract. He took the security. That's his own fault. You can't blame the Braves. They were smart about it. And I guarantee you're going to see, other players. You're going to see Albies probably get better and probably see that he wasn't going to get paid what he's worth. So, and that's why Swanson didn't take a team-friendly deal, because he knows he's going to get between $150 and $180 million on the free agent market. So, and that's why I think the Braves could possibly lose Swanson, because I don't know if they're going to be willing to go that amount to retain Swanson. Jeffrey, the Red Sox are very weird. Chaim Bloom, I don't know what the hell he's doing. Again, I don't know what the Red Sox are doing. I think he's doing a bad job negotiating with Devers. I don't understand how you're going to lose Bogarts and possibly lose Devers. And if you don't come up with a contract extension for Devers, he's going to have to trade him. You can't let him go for nothing. And that's why you're hearing rumblings about teams talking to the Red Sox about Rafael Devers. I don't know what the hell the Red Sox are doing. Chaim Bloom is an idiot. Like, you were going to let Xander Bogaerts go, and Red Sox fans were like, okay, makes sense, because you're going to re-sign Rafael Devers. Well, that's a problem, because they clearly didn't get it done yet, and it clearly the negotiations aren't going well. And now you're hearing rumors about the Red Sox might be trading Rafael Devers, which is insane. Like, in a 5-year period, you can lose Bogarts, trade Mookie Betts, and possibly trade Devers in a 5-year span. That's insane. I don't understand that at all. And it's not like you're a poverty franchise. I just don't get it. I couldn't even tell you what the Red Sox are doing, because I have no idea. Yeah, you see, I think, if you look at my top 20 predictions, I do have a DH coming to the Mets. Check out that video and you'll see who I have. But I think they're going to go out and get a decent bat for a DH spot. Again, I need somebody that can hit righties and lefties consistently. I don't like platoons at DH. I'd rather you use the DH for giving guys rest on the field on your team currently, as your 8 players on the field. If you want to give Alonso off one day from first base, let him DH. You want Marte to get off his feet, let him DH. Same thing goes for every other player on the team. You want to sit him out of the field, you DH him. I'd rather use the DH, as giving guys days off on the field than platooning 2 players that are so good against righties and so good against lefties. How did that work out for the Mets? Platooning DHs are so stupid of a concept that analytics probably says it's a good idea. And that's why the Mets did it. Because Ruff crushes lefties. I'm still waiting for him to hit the ball. And Daniel Vogelback crushes right-handers, and I'm still waiting for him to not hit another ground ball. So it's just, I don't know. I think the Mets got to do better at DH. Jacob deGrom is not accepting a qualifying offer. He's looking for a long-term, a couple of year deal, 3, 4, probably 4 or 5 year deal. Kendrick, it really depends on what the Mets are trading for. You traded for Devers, the Red Sox going to want prospects. You're trading for Tyler Glasnow, clearly the Rays will want prospects. But you also can think, remember, G-Man Choi was just traded from the Rays to the Pirates. So Dominic Smith can be in a trade package to the Rays. He can play first base for the Rays, right? With a couple of prospects, if Glasnow and another pitcher is an option for a trade with the Rays. So once again, guys, I'm going to end the stream in about 5 minutes, because we just talked about everything we needed to talk about. Once again, if you haven't checked out the top 20 free agents predictions that I posted today. Check it out after the stream ends and let me know what you think in the comment section. And tomorrow, I'm probably going to do an MLB Free Agent Frenzy, but I might just do, I'll probably do another stream because I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with the Rays, because keep an eye on what the Rays are going to do. It's going to determine what's going to happen. Again, John Morosi said he believes, he talked to multiple executives around the league, and he believes within the next 48 hours, multiple trades could happen with the Tampa Bay Rays. And the three teams that have been known to be talking to the Rays already is the Mets, Cubs, and Reds. So with that said, guys, pay attention to the Rule 5 deadline tomorrow. With the Mets, let me just let you know a player to look out for. Yordany Ventura. That's a guy that the Mets had a lot of hope in. He has an electric arm. He pitched pretty well last year in Port St. Lucie in A-ball, but the last couple of years, he's had 4 different type of injuries over the last couple of years. Hasn't pitched a lot. He has an electric arm, but can't stay healthy. That's a guy the Mets might keep unprotected. Yordany Ventura. That's a guy that they might keep unprotected and might be off the Mets by December when the Rule 5 draft happens. So look out for Ventura to be unprotected by the Mets by the deadline tomorrow, and watch out for the Rays. I can't say that enough. See what the Rays are going to do. What players are going to leave unprotected, and the players are going to leave unprotected. If it's multiple pitchers, it's probably a sign that the Rays are going to trade some pitches off their roster, especially if they protect some of those players that can be Rule 5 eligible. So with that said, guys, I'll see you tomorrow, same time, 5 p.m. You're going to hear a lot of rumors over the next couple of, probably later tonight into tomorrow, because once again, one more time, guys, John Morosi reported multiple executives have been rumored to say that they believe the Rays are in advanced negotiations to make multiple trades within the next 48 hours, and that was yesterday. So something might happen late tonight, but I have a feeling something big is going to happen tomorrow. Might not necessarily be with the Mets, but it possibly could be, because the Mets, Reds, and Cubs have been the teams rumored to be talking to the Rays right now. So with that said, guys, thank you for tuning in to MLB Free Agent Frenzy. Let's hope we get some movement on the free agent market and possible trade market. So we got a lot more to talk about. We spent a couple of hours discussing what our Mets and what's going on around baseball. So with that said, guys, thank you for watching. Check out my video, Top 20 Free Agent Predictions, and let me know in the comments what you think of my predictions. Everybody have a good night. As always, Met fans, let's go Mets. See you tomorrow night, guys, 5 p.m. Have a good night.